Let's talk to Jeffrey Sachs, the public policy analyst who served as special advisor to 3 United Nations Secretaries General. Jeffrey Sachs, welcome back. Good to see you. First of all, your reaction to the signing of this agreement.
I think it's a very important agreement. Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, called it a historic agreement. I believe that that is the case. Not only does it bring together the Palestinian factions, but it brings China right into Middle East diplomacy, and again, in a very important and a very positive way, I want to add. China has pulled 2 rabbits out of the hat in the Middle East. One was the reconciliation of Saudi Arabia and Iran, something the United States could never have imagined or done. And now the reconciliation of Fatah and Hamas in forming a unity front. And this also, I think, is extremely positive and important.
Is it going to work?
What's happening is basically Israel is so extreme that it is almost entirely isolated itself in the world community. It has one backer left. That's it. That's the United States of America. And now the U.S. is being cornered because China is showing, look, there's a way to do diplomacy. There's a way to answer questions. There's a way to actually move forward. So the U.S. stands completely isolated alongside Israel. Israel, the Knesset, that is the parliament, just recently voted that there will be no Palestinian state. But the world community overwhelmingly says, yes, there will. The Arab countries overwhelmingly say, yes, the 2-state solution, which has been backed repeatedly by the UN Security Council and the UN General Assembly, and the Arab nations have stuck together very, very clearly, saying the 2-state solution is the only approach. It recognizes Israel's right to security, but it calls for a state of Palestine as the 194th UN member state with the capital in East Jerusalem. And so I think that while the pain of the actual war in Gaza continues and the risk of escalation absolutely continues, and what has happened today with China does not by itself stop that, it does make clear the direction of travel for the diplomatic outcome that will eventually emerge, and that is a state of Palestine, UN member state, capital in East Jerusalem, whether Israel likes it or not.
The direction of travel may be emerging, but the road is still bumpy ahead, isn't it? I mean, Israel has strongly opposed this deal, particularly any involvement of Hamas in Gaza's government. I mean, realistically, that's significant, isn't it? I mean, how do you see that affecting the future of the agreement?
Israel does not, and probably never will in the foreseeable future, accept a Palestinian state. But that's not the end of the story. Israel should not, and in effect will not, have a veto over a Palestinian state. What is the real veto right now is not Israel. The real veto is the United States, because the U.S. arms Israel. It provides the funding. It provides the logistics. Without the U.S. backing, Israel cannot carry on with its policy a single day. It can't carry on the war a single day. Inside the U.S., the situation is also quite interesting. The American people are absolutely against U.S. government foreign policy right now. They see that Israel is slaughtering civilians in Gaza. They don't want the American government to be a party to that, yet it is. So the U.S. government is being isolated step by step, not only from the world community, but also from the American people themselves. And the situation is getting even more difficult for the U.S. government. The International Court of Justice has recently ruled that Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories violates international law. The International Court of Justice is likely to rule, in my view, my guess, that Israel is in violation of the 1948 Genocide Convention. So the U.S., yes, is the effective veto right now, not Israel, but the U.S. And the U.S. is under tremendous diplomatic and even voter strain right now in keeping this absolute position to side with Israeli extremism.
Briefly, we've been here before, kind of, haven't we, with reconciliation efforts between Hamas and Fatah, which have failed in the past. I mean, what are the main challenges that perhaps could hinder the successful implementation of this agreement?
Well, of course, there can be divisions between the two parties that have signed this accord right now. But the real challenge, again, is the practical one of turning this into something that actually leads to the state of Palestine as a UN member state living in security next door to Israel. And that is largely a diplomatic and political problem of the United States. Now, the fact that China is, again, pulling this amazing rabbit out of the hat, showing that it is increasingly able to broker peace, to find solutions to problems that America calls impossible or irreconcilable, puts added pressure on the United States to come up with something. It's been pretty pathetic. I think we're in the end game, of course, of the Biden administration, so I don't think that they're going to do anything different. We're going to have to wait to see what happens next, I think, till next January for any kind of diplomatic breakthrough. But what strikes me is that the whole world is siding for the two-state solution right now, whether it's in the Security Council, other than the U.S. veto, or in the UN General Assembly, other than a few votes that the U.S. was able to pull together. And now China's role will make that even more likely to come about and put added pressure on the United States to stop being such a complete, ineffective prolonger of war, and finally get with the rest of the international community on the side of solutions and peace.
Jeffrey Sachs, good to see you. Thank you very much for your time. Jeffrey Sachs talking to us there from New York.